we are afraid to make it stop. Yeah, we're going to keep it going. And I just want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Welcome you here to the broadcast. And it's Friday night. Maybe some of my people on the East Coast might still be up. It's 10:30 there, and I have a lot to do. So just sometimes it's a chore to get on live. I tell you, you have so much going on. And so I started doing a broadcast, which I call Wake Up America. So if you want to go back and listen to that one, I talked about Bill Gatewood today and his no hitters. I mentioned John Donaldson and Nolan Ryan and gave you a little comparison. When I come on in the morning, what I give you is like just one particular thing, and then it's usually, it's fire. It's fire. I'm only going to be on there for a short period, and I do most of my writing. I don't know. Most people have some time of day they like to do most of the work. I work really good when I get up first thing in the morning. And so I thought maybe I would do a broadcast and that would be fun as well. So this week I started the Wake Up America broadcast for the AM, and then this is a PM broadcast. And occasionally I'll do one during the middle of the day, but I just want to thank everybody for joining whenever you pick me up and enjoy the broadcast. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here today prepping you. I will tell you that we reached the 762 number. We're right at 762, so hopefully we can hold that one. And then go on to the new number I'm after, which is the 780 subscribers, which is going to be my Ichihiro Suzuki number, because that's how many career RBIs he had. And I was just thinking, I said, man, I ought to check this one out. And I might mention that before I get out of here tonight and see what I can come up with. Okay. So I'm always looking for something new to talk about. And sometimes when I come on, I give my ideas from the minute I come on. So it's like, okay, man, maybe that would be a good one to go back and check. So you just never know. But I did get an idea for something just as I spoke just now. So I'm going to look that up while I'm talking to you. So anyway, let me type something in here. And uh, if you guys have any questions, let me know. And I will answer those questions for you. I'm going to about to get started here. Um, just want to type this in and just going to type this in here. All right. And because I am curious. Um, I am very, you get curious about something and then it just pops in your head and then you got to check it out, right? So here's what you know, Ichiro Suzuki is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? And most people know that he had a lot of hits in Japan. Then he came over to America and had a lot of hits too. But he's in there with 780 RBIs. But just imagine this: Hank Aaron has 2,297 RBIs. Man, I mean, what is 714? What he actually has twice as many, three times as many RBIs as Suzuki, Ichihiro, right? I guess, when you look at Hall of Fame careers and you look at ball player statistics, sometimes we just don't realize, man, some of the numbers some of these people put up. And I did see Ichihiro play. I would always try to get a ticket when he came, and I would take some kids down to the ballpark. He was a great hitter. But man, when it came to driving in runs, boy, just imagine 780 and you're in the Hall of Fame, and then you have a guy with 2,297, and he's in the same Hall of Fame with you. So kind of seems unfair, doesn't it? So anyway, all right. So we're going to keep on rolling. If you're joining me tonight, let me know where you're joining from, and I'm going to give you a few tidbits on some history. Okay, so let's go back to April 10th, 1892. And on this day, Frank Doc Sykes was born in Decatur, Alabama. And I had the pleasure of interviewing Frank Sykes. He was I think he was living in Washington, D.C. when I interviewed him. And it was a telephone interview many years ago, back in the 1980s. Can you imagine, guys? I'm in my 46th year. But when I first started, I was interviewing guys that were born in 1892. Just imagine that. I had several of them. I know there was a guy that I interviewed who was I think he was like 94, and I interviewed him in like 1983. So how old would that guy be today, right? Somebody got a calculator. You can do the math on it. You almost need a calculator on that one. But I interviewed a lot of people, and that is how I got this unique perception and this new unique view of black baseball, right? And it's a view that very few people have. Now, people can copy off of what you're saying, but when it comes down to being an original, that's where the men are separated from the boys, right? And so I had the pleasure of interviewing Doc Sykes and talking to him about his career at Howard. He was a dentist. And then one thing he liked to talk about was that he was involved in trying to get the Scottsboro boys. I don't know if you know the story about the Scottsboro boys. I don't want to bore you, but you might go look that up. And the Scottsboro boys were uh, they were arrested for a false rape. Yeah, and they were almost lynched. And so they didn't actually get capital punishment for a crime they did not commit. How about this one? But they ended up spending a lot of time in prison. And I remember Frank Sykes telling me about how he had been involved in getting trying to help those boys get out of jail. And so he was heavily involved. He actually testified, and we talked about that. And just imagine you're talking to someone that was actually giving you history that you're reading in books, and this person was there, Frank Doc Sykes. I will tell you one thing. Um, in 1940, they had been in prison. Few of them had been released, and there were still some of the guys that were still in prison, and there was a big petition movement to get them released. And the Kansas City Call had a petition. They printed it in the paper, and so people could take that and make copies of it, whatever, and you could get other copies, and then you would go out and get people to sign the petition. And there was a lady in our community. Now, I wasn't born yet, believe me. I wasn't born in 1940, but there was a lady in my community. Her name was Lula Huff. And Lula Huff ended up getting 18 petitions signed and with the names of 450 people. And that was in Kansas City, Kansas. Now, they had people from all over who had subscriptions to the call, who would, from various states that would print that petition, and then they would send it down to make sure that they got that information to try to free the Scottsboro boys. Now, what's interesting about that, uh, there was another guy that worked real hard on that petition drive, and it was my dad. Yeah, if you go back and look in the Kansas City Call, you'll see the name of Arthur H. Dixon. And he was like in maybe third or fourth place for getting petitions signed in Kansas City, Kansas. And that was my dad, guys. So some of this history and being a fighter for civil rights, I got honestly because my folks were interested in that. And that was 1940, guys. And when my father was doing that, believe me, it won't be for another 16 years before I was born. And when I was born, my father was 49 years old, and my mother was 44. So I just edged in here, right? And so I do want to leave you with a couple of names, and maybe you can look these names up and see what became of them. And these were the Scottsboro boys that were still remaining in prison in 1940, and they had been there for 9 years and had never been found guilty. Okay, they were Hayward Patterson, Clarence Norris, Charles Weems, Andy Wright, Ozzie Powell, and those were the ones that were being held way after the crime had supposedly been committed, and they were still there. And so people like Frank Doc Sykes and my dad were just a couple of the people that participated in trying to get freedom for people who were wrongly incarcerated. All right, so that's now see that's the reason why when you listen to me, I give you a baseball fact, and Frank Doc Sykes was a great pitcher, by the way, and I have a wonderful photograph of him I've never released, and so somebody's going to be able to see that soon. But Frank Doc Sykes played for the Brooklyn Royal Giants. He was just an outstanding guy. And like I said, he had a dentist shop, and I have a book on graduate from Howard Universities. I didn't bother to pull it out today. I could have told you when he graduated. But All right, so let's go to this one. Let's go to. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Let's go to April 10th, 1950, and you probably heard this guy. His name was Kenneth George Griffey Sr. is born on this date in what's that? Donra, Pennsylvania. So you know who he is. He's Ken Griffey Jr.'s dad. And so the senior was born. I used to talk to the senior. Yeah, I did. When I used to work for the Kansas City Royals, and I would go down to the hotel where they stayed down in the Crown Center, and I would talk to the guys there, and then I talked to them at the clubhouse. So I had a chance to talk to Ken Griffey Sr. before Junior ever came. So Senior was playing with the Yankees back at that time, and the Yankees had a good squad, and they came to Kansas City. They would draw really well. And so, yeah, I had a chance. That would have been maybe 1989. No, it would have been earlier than that. It might have been 85, 86, 87, somewhere in there. Somebody knows when he played for the Yankees, okay? So let's keep it going here. I'm going to give you, this is a little tricky one. I'm going to take you back to 1910 now. There was a guy named William Penn Thompson, formerly played with the Cuban Giants and the Philadelphia Giants. Well, he got married on this day to Margaret Jane Coughlin, Coughlin. And how about this one? She was the daughter of Irish migrants. So I have gotten the marriage certificate, and it says that Thompson was colored and Margaret was white. So how about this 1910, an interracial marriage? A baseball player and an Irish immigrant. So yeah, it was going on then. Sometimes I think about some of the Negro leaguers that I knew who were interracially married, and I can think of a few. One of them would be Ray Brown. Uh, his second wife, his first wife was Composite's daughter. How about this one? Another one was Charlie Grant, who played for the Pace Finch Giants, Columbia Giants, Philadelphia Giants. He was the famous Charlie Tokahama. When they talk about Charlie Tokahama, you don't hear anything about his wife, but that was one. And there was another guy named Doggy Woods who played. He played for the Algona Brownies. He was interracially married, and there's probably a lot more, but these are just some that I can spit out right now. Guys, have you ever heard these stories before? Probably not, because you haven't been reading my books. That's right. You read my books, I give you all kind of information, right? And actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to show you one of my books here. This is my second book that came out way back in 1992. 1992, the Negro Baseball Leagues of Photographic History has over 600 photographs in there. It was a game changer. And I don't know, maybe some of you listening own that book. I don't know. But if you don't, but you're interested in the Negro Leagues, that is how book you want to have. And how can you get it? Well, you can go to Amazon and buy it because it's out of print. So you have to get it that way. So just know that. Okay. So let's go to another one. Uh, April 10th, 1913. All right. I'll do just two more and then I'll wrap it up. Uh, April 10th, 1913. And this is another one of my favorite ball players. Name is Bill Lindsay. He tossed a seven-hitter and gave the Chicago American Giants, in this case, a 7-2 win versus Victoria in Victoria, British Columbia. And of course, Lindsay is from Kansas City, actually from Lexington, Missouri, which is not too far from Kansas City. I presented in Lexington on a number of occasions, and Lexington produced some great baseball players that came out of there. Oh man, it's just amazing. Otto J. Burt Ray was from Lexington. Who else was from Lexington? I want to mention. Um, there were a few that were the Lindsays. There was about five brothers that ended up playing ball at a pretty high level. Ashes Jackson, famous shortstop at the Kansas Giants. He was from there. Who else do I want to mention? I'll think of another one in a minute. But yeah, that was a great baseball town, and they produced some pretty good ball players. So, oh yeah, Charlie Hancock, Art Hancock, they were from there. Charlie Hancock played a lot of baseball up around Sioux City, and he played with the Colored House of David, played with a lot of good teams, Gilkerson Union Giants, and his brother also played Arthur Hancock. So yeah, so in every place you go, and because I've traveled so extensively and done a lot of research before I go into places, that's the reason why I'm able to spit out these names so quickly. And when I just sit here and just let my mind flow, I can think of ball players from different places as well. All right. Okay. So let's see if there's what else I want to say. All right then. Okay, let's finish up with a National League fact. All right. And then we'll close it off for tonight. I do want to thank you for joining. And guys, if you pick this broadcast up afterwards, don't forget I'm going for the 780 subscribers. And so if you can help me get there, certainly would appreciate it. If you're a baseball fan, you certainly want to help me get there. And so let's go. And we're going to give them one. April 10th, 1971. I had a chance to see this guy play because they played an exhibition game in Kansas City. So Pittsburgh, Willie Stargell hit 3 home runs and drove in 4 runs in the Pirates' 5-4 loss. Had a good night, but the rest of the team didn't. To the Atlanta Braves, and the game went 12 innings. And so that is one of the great games, a great nights in Willie Stargell's career. So remember Willie Stargell, the We Are Family, what year was that? 1980? 1980, somewhere in there. I think it was 80, 81. So yeah, so that's about all that I have for you tonight. I'm about to close it off. Do want to thank everybody for joining. Again, this is Phil Dixon. My throat's getting scratchy. Yeah, this is Phil Dixon. I'm a baseball historian with 45 years under my belt. I'm in my 46th year, guys, and there's no one out there who can top that right now. And I've been consistent in all that time. So I do want to let you know that this is the place you can come and hear some good baseball, some good Negro League baseball, and who knows what I'm going to talk about socially. So tonight, when you came to this broadcast, you probably didn't expect to hear anything about the Scottsboro Boys, right? Well, those are kind of surprises I give. So thank you guys, and I will see you real soon. I appreciate everybody who's been joining me. Once again, if you like this kind of conversation, by all means, subscribe. We're trying to get to that 780. And then I'll be back tomorrow. I'll probably get up early in the morning and do another Wake Up America broadcast. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Let me see. I work off a spreadsheet. I may talk a little bit about Emmett Ashford and Cristobal Torrente tomorrow. All right, Cristobal Torrente. I remember C.I. Taylor when he talked about Cristobal Torrente. He said, when you see that guy walk down the street, he said, there goes half a baseball team. One guy, half a baseball team. That guy had to be something special. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here for tonight. I will be back, and hopefully you're enjoying this. And feel free to go back and look at any of my broadcasts. Even though it says this day in Black baseball history, believe me, it's loaded with more things than just this day. But this day gives me an opportunity to talk about new and different things every day. You have a nice evening. I'll see you real soon. Bye. This is Phil Dixon. Have a nice evening.